Welcome and settle in. Before we begin, take a moment to let your body rest, to let your breath slow, and to let the noise of the day fade gently into the background. Tonight, we will travel far from the present moment, to a place where time itself seems to stand still. Beneath the golden sands of Egypt, hidden deep within the cliffs of the Theban hills, lies a world few have seen, but whose quiet echoes still shape the memory of civilization. It is the world of the tunnel diggers, the men who carved with patient hands the eternal resting places of kings. Imagine it now, the desert at dawn, pale light stretching across endless dunes. The air is cool, carrying the faint scent of dust and salt. In the distance, the cliffs rise like sleeping giants, their faces smooth and silent. Below them, in a small cluster of mud brick homes, life begins to stir. These are the homes of Egypt's workers, men who spend their waking hours beneath the ground, chiseling the corridors that would lead a pharaoh to eternity. Their story is not one of conquest or power. It is quieter, humbler, and infinitely more human. It is the story of endurance, of steady breath, of hands that knew the rhythm of stone, of days spent in dim torchlight, shaping beauty from darkness. Their names have long been forgotten, buried beneath centuries of sand, yet their touch remains in every mark, every carving, every silent chamber that still stands. As we journey tonight through their world, we will move gently from the ordinary rhythm of daily life to the heart of their labor, to the mysteries that still sleep beneath the rock, and finally to the reflections left behind by those who lived, worked, and dreamed in the shadow of eternity. There will be no rush here, no noise, only the slow turning of history, the whisper of wind over stone, and the soft, steady rhythm of human effort that has never truly ceased. So now, let your eyes grow heavy. Let your mind drift, and imagine yourself there, in the stillness of the desert morning, where the earth waits to be shaped, and the first sound of the day is the quiet strike of a chisel against stone. This is what it was really like to be a tunnel digger in ancient Egypt. The day in ancient Deir el-Medina begins before the first touch of sunlight warms the cliffs. The desert is still cool and quiet, wrapped in a faint blue mist that clings to the edges of the mud brick homes. The village lies close to the Valley of the Kings, where Egypt's royal tombs are carved deep into the stone. Here live the workers, painters, sculptors, and tunnel diggers, men whose lives unfold in a careful rhythm of labor, rest, and ritual. Before the heat sets in, soft sounds ripple through the settlement, the shuffle of feet on packed earth, the low murmur of voices, and the faint crackle of firewood as women begin to bake bread for the day's meal. The air carries the scent of smoke and barley, warm and familiar. Inside one of the small homes, a digger rises from his straw mat, stretching limbs that ache faintly from yesterday's work. His hands are rough, his nails darkened by dust that never fully leaves. Beside him rests a simple set of tools, a copper chisel, a wooden mallet, and a stone hammer worn smooth from use. He eats a quick meal, a piece of flatbread dipped in oil, perhaps a handful of figs, and a sip of beer thickened with grain. There is no luxury here, but there is comfort in the routine. As the light of dawn begins to spill over the horizon, he steps outside, joining a quiet procession of men walking eastward toward the rising sun. Their sandals scuff against the sand as they move toward the cliffs, tall and pale in the growing light. The valley opens before them like a sacred mouth, silent and eternal. The entrances to the tombs are small and dark, almost invisible against the stone, but each one holds a purpose known only to those who work within. At the mouth of one such tunnel, a foreman waits, recording the names of his men on a thin limestone tablet. Attendance is noted carefully. Order and record-keeping were sacred duties in ancient Egypt. Nothing in this world was left to chance, not even a worker's presence. Stepping inside the tunnel, the digger feels the air grow cooler, the light dimming to a soft amber glow. The lamps placed along the walls flicker faintly, their flames trembling like breathing in the stillness. The smell of oil and dust fills the air, mingling with the faint tang of stone. The diggers begin their work. The rhythm of chisels striking limestone echoes softly through the chamber, each strike deliberate and unhurried. Tap, pause, tap, the steady pulse of 100 hands, shaping the resting place of a king. In this darkness, time loses meaning. The hours blend together in a quiet continuum of movement and breath. Each man works with patience born of necessity. The limestone resists, but not harshly. It yields slowly, as if recognizing the persistence of the hands that shape it. When one section loosens, another worker kneels to gather the small fragments into woven baskets. The debris travels outward through the tunnel, passed along in silence by young assistants, and poured out near the cliff face where it gathers in growing mounds. These mounds, barely noticed by history, once marked the slow and steady progress of human effort, one basket of stone at a time. The tunnels extend deep into the rock, measured carefully with cords and pegs. Engineers of the necropolis designed them with precision, ensuring each chamber lay exactly where it was meant to be. A mistake could mean disaster, cutting into a forbidden tomb or weakening the mountain's structure. But for the diggers themselves, the work is less about design and more about endurance. Each swing of the hammer, each breath in the heavy air, is part of a quiet devotion. They do not carve for themselves, but for eternity, for the pharaoh who must journey through the afterlife, for the gods who must be appeased, and for the promise of continued order in the world above. By midday, the overseer's voice calls softly down the corridor, signaling a pause. The chisels stop, and the sudden silence feels strange after so many hours of rhythm. The men step out into the bright sunlight, blinking as their eyes adjust. The desert has changed while they were below. The air now ripples with heat, and the cliffs shimmer like gold. They sit in the shade of a nearby rock wall, passing around bread, onions, and jars of cool water. The talk is light, about the weather, their families, or a neighbor's newborn child. Someone hums a tune, low and ancient, a melody that perhaps his father once sang. The sound drifts through the valley, soft and content. After a short rest, they return to their work. The tunnel welcomes them again with its cool embrace. The air is thick but still, the walls damp with the faint touch of mineral moisture. The flicker of lamps casts soft light over the newly carved surfaces, and for a brief moment the men pause to admire their progress. The surface of the stone bears thousands of marks, each one distinct, each one belonging to a hand that will never be named. They know that when the tomb is finished, painters and sculptors will come to cover their work with decoration, sealing forever the evidence of their labor. But that is the way of things. The beauty lies not in being remembered, but in being part of something greater. As the afternoon fades, the work slows. The air in the tunnel grows cooler, the lamps burn lower, and the diggers begin to gather their tools. Emerging into the evening light feels like awakening from a dream. The valley glows in soft shades of amber and rose. Shadows stretch long across the sand. The men walk back toward the village, their laughter carried by the desert wind. The sight of home, low, sun-baked walls glowing gently in the dusk, fills them with quiet relief. Children run to greet their fathers, and women call out from doorways as the smell of stew and bread fills the lanes. Back in his home, the digger washes his hands in a small basin. The water turns cloudy with dust. He sits by a flickering lamp, eating in silence, the events of the day replaying in the rhythm of his thoughts. The faint ache in his muscles is familiar, not painful, but grounding. It reminds him that his body, like the stone he works, is part of the same earth. When he finishes eating, he steps outside. The night has deepened. Above him, the sky spreads wide and endless, glittering with stars that seem close enough to touch. The wind moves gently across the sand, whispering through the cracks of the walls. He gazes upward, perhaps thinking of the gods, perhaps of nothing at all. The same stars that shine above the palace of the pharaoh glow above his humble roof. In that quiet, the world feels perfectly balanced between light and shadow, toil and rest, life and eternity. When he finally lies down, the mat beneath him cool and rough, the scent of dust and lamp oil lingers faintly in the air. His breathing slows. The echoes of the day, hammer, chisel, breath, fade gently in his mind until they become the rhythm of sleep itself. Theirs was not a life of fame or riches, but one of quiet constancy. The tunnel diggers of ancient Egypt worked in the unseen places, shaping the corridors that still wind through the cliffs today. Their names are forgotten, but their presence endures in every mark left upon the stone. The tombs of kings stand as monuments to their endurance, their precision, and their silence. Beneath the sands, in the cool darkness of their handiwork, time itself seems to pause, holding the memory of their labor like a breath that never ends. And as the desert night settles once more over Deir el-Medina, the stars shimmer above the valley. Below, the tunnels remain, silent, patient, eternal, bearing witness to the rhythm of human hands and the quiet devotion of those who worked in darkness so that eternity might have a home. As the years passed, one man's life became quietly intertwined with the rock of the Theban cliffs. His name was Nakht, a tunnel digger in service to the royal necropolis during the reign of Pharaoh Seti I. History did not remember him through grand statues or inscriptions of triumph, but through a single line of writing, barely visible, scratched in faint ink upon a fragment of limestone discovered deep within an unfinished tomb. It reads simply, "Nakht, son of Paza, worked here on this day." Just a sentence. But in that quiet declaration lies a world of memory. Imagine Nakht now. The year is perhaps around 1280 BCE. The sun rises as it has always done, climbing slowly over the eastern horizon, turning the cliffs to gold. Nakht rises from his mat, brushing fine dust from his hair and shoulders. He lives with his wife, Iset, and their 2 children, in a small house near the edge of the workman's village. The home is modest but ordered, a single room for sleeping, another for cooking, and a small rooftop where clothes dry in the desert air. In one corner, a small clay shrine stands. On it rest tiny figures of the gods, Ptah, who protects craftsmen, and Hathor, goddess of joy and music. Every morning before he leaves for work, he offers a simple prayer, lighting a small bit of incense, letting the smoke curl upward like a whisper. His life is quiet, bound by the rhythm of the work. He is neither poor nor rich. As a royal laborer, his position is steady. The pharaoh ensures that the workmen of the necropolis receive rations, grain, oil, vegetables, and the thick, sweet beer that serves as both food and refreshment in the desert heat. There is pride in his labor, though he seldom speaks of it. When outsiders ask what it is like to carve the tombs of kings, he simply says, "It is long work, but the stone is patient." Each morning, Nachit walks to the valley with his companions. They know each other well, men who have grown old together in the same tunnels. They share not only their work, but their lives, their worries, their celebrations, their quiet moments of fatigue. As they descend into the mouth of the tomb, the world above fades away, replaced by the steady rhythm of effort that has become second nature. Nachit's place is at the forefront of the digging team, near the newly marked sections of wall where the chamber must extend. He grips his hammer and chisel and begins again. He does not think of greatness or history as he works. His thoughts are simpler, focused on the feel of the stone, the steadiness of his swing, the sound that tells him when the rock is ready to yield. The flickering lamplight dances across his face, carving deep shadows beneath his eyes. His tunic clings to his back with sweat, though the air is cool. Dust gathers at his feet, and his breath moves in quiet rhythm with the strike of the hammer. Around him, the sound of tools creates a kind of music: metal, stone, breath, pause. Occasionally, he stops to rest, sitting quietly against the wall. The tunnel stretches before him, dark and silent, except for the faint movement of others farther inside. Sometimes he runs his hand over the chisel marks already carved into the stone. Each groove feels familiar, like the lines of his own palm. In that moment, he senses something timeless, an understanding that though he may never see the tomb completed, his work will remain long after he is gone. There are moments of difficulty too. The rock does not always cooperate. Sometimes cracks appear, forcing the team to change course. At other times, an overseer grows impatient, demanding faster progress. Nachit says little in response. He simply nods and continues, his body moving in that steady, enduring rhythm that has carried him through years of labor. At the end of one long day, when most of the workers have left, Nachit lingers behind. The light of the last lamp casts soft gold against the wall, and in a quiet corner near the entrance, he picks up a shard of limestone. With a small reed pen dipped in ink, he writes his name, Nacht, son of Pazer. It is not defiance, nor vanity. It is something gentler, a human impulse to leave behind a sign that he existed, that he too shaped this place, that his hands once touched this stone. He presses the fragment into a crevice and leaves it there, unaware that thousands of years later, someone will find it and wonder who he was. Outside, the night air cools his skin. The valley lies silent beneath the stars, its shadows deep and still. Nacht begins the walk home, his sandals brushing softly through the sand. When he reaches the village, the fires are already lit. He can hear laughter, men telling stories, children playing. His wife greets him at the door with a smile, handing him a small clay bowl of stew. They eat together beneath the soft light of an oil lamp. The children have already fallen asleep, their faces peaceful. For a while, Nachit says nothing, listening only to the gentle rustle of wind against the walls. The days continue much the same: work, rest, and prayer, the cycle unbroken. But even in this simplicity, there is meaning. On festival days, the men of Deir el-Medina are permitted rest. They wash their bodies, shave their heads, and walk together to the small temple nearby. Music fills the air, drums, flutes, and the soft ringing of sistrums. Offerings are made to Hathor and Osiris, and for a brief time, the workers are no longer laborers in the dark, but celebrants beneath the sun. They dance, drink, and sing songs older than memory. It is in these moments that Nacht feels a quiet joy, a reminder that life, even hard life, is still a gift. There are hardships too. Some seasons, the food rations arrive late. Other times, sickness moves through the village. The desert is beautiful, but it is merciless. Yet even in difficulty, the community endures. They care for one another. A neighbor shares bread when another's stores run low. The women bring herbs to those who cough through the night. When someone dies, the village gathers together in stillness, carrying the body to the small cemetery beyond the cliffs, laying them gently beneath the sand. Death, to them, is not an end, but a passage, another tunnel leading to the eternal. For Nacht, this understanding of life and death is woven into every stroke of his hammer. He believes the tombs are not merely monuments to kings, but doorways, bridges between the world of the living and the eternal realm beyond. Each mark he makes, each smooth curve of the wall, is a contribution to that divine crossing. He works not only for the pharaoh, but for Maat, the eternal balance of the universe. His labor keeps the world in harmony. As years go by, Nacht grows older, his shoulders stiffen, and the long hours beneath the earth take their toll. Younger men join the team now, learning from his quiet example. He no longer carves as quickly as before, but his eye for the stone remains sharp. When he strikes the wall, he knows exactly where to place the chisel. There is a serenity in his work, a stillness that seems to flow from him into the stone itself. One evening, after a particularly long day, Nakit sits outside his home and watches the sun set behind the cliffs. The sky glows with 1,000 shades of orange and red, and the peaks of the valley seem almost to burn with light. He knows the tomb he has worked on for years is nearing completion. Soon others will come, painters, priests, guards, to perform their own sacred duties. He will move on to the next commission, or perhaps retire to a quieter life. He feels no regret. The thought that his hands helped shape the passageway to eternity is enough. And so the story of Nacht, like so many others, fades gently into the folds of history. Yet the rock remembers. The tunnels he helped carve still stretch beneath the sands, silent and perfect in their geometry. His faint inscription, Nachit, son of Pesa, still lies hidden within that darkness, a small whisper of humanity preserved through time. In that whisper, the distance between the past and the present grows soft. You can almost imagine him now, the flicker of lamplight on his face, the sound of his chisel echoing gently, the slow, patient rhythm of his breath. He is gone, and yet he remains, in the stillness of the stone, in the shape of the tunnels, in the endless patience of the desert. His life, like the work he left behind, moves quietly beneath the surface of eternity, unbroken, unhurried, and at peace. And so, as we leave Nacht in the cool silence of the valley, we turn now toward what lay beyond his reach, the mysteries hidden deeper within the earth. The tombs he helped create were more than resting places. They were worlds unto themselves, filled with symbols, secrets, and silent guardians. In the next part of our journey, we'll descend even further into the forgotten chambers, the sacred inscriptions, and the mysteries that still sleep beneath the sands. The valley sleeps. Long after the last torch has burned out and the workers' footsteps have faded, the cliffs remain awake, listening. The night winds move through the narrow paths like breath through a flute, carrying the faint scent of stone dust and the echo of forgotten prayers. Deep within the mountain, behind walls sealed for millennia, a silence waits. It is not an empty silence, but one that hums faintly, as though time itself lingers there, whispering in tones too soft for the living to hear. Let us go there now, gently, down into the heart of the mountain where Nacht once worked. Imagine stepping through a narrow passageway, your lamp flickering against the smooth walls. The air is still and cool, scented faintly with age. Every surface around you tells a story. Hieroglyphs line the walls, carved with care, filled with the language of gods and kings. The figures seem alive in the dim glow, their eyes following you, their gestures eternal. You move slowly. The deeper you go, the quieter the world becomes. The sound of your breath grows louder, more deliberate. The echo of each footstep rolls softly away into the dark, returning a moment later changed, like an old memory trying to find its way home. The passage turns and descends again. You trace your hand along the carvings, cool to the touch, as if the stone itself remembers the warmth of those who once shaped it. Here, every wall holds meaning. The images tell stories of the pharaoh's journey after death, of his crossing through the night sky, his meeting with the gods, his rebirth with the dawn. You see Ra's solar bark gliding through rivers of darkness, guarded by serpents of flame. You see Osiris seated upon his throne, judging the hearts of men. You see fields of rushes where the blessed dead walk forever beneath golden light. It is a book, not of paper or ink, but of silence and stone. Each chamber is a page, each painting a verse. And though the language may be lost to many, its rhythm still hums beneath the surface. You can feel it in your bones, in the pulse of the earth around you. Somewhere in this labyrinth lies the burial chamber, the sacred heart of the tomb. The air thickens as you approach, carrying the faint scent of resin and linen. The ceiling rises high above you, painted deep blue and scattered with stars, constellations that mirror the heavens above. Beneath them stands a stone sarcophagus, its surface smooth and cold, carved with protective spells meant to guard the soul for eternity. For a long moment you stand still. The silence here feels ancient, a silence that has seen empires rise and fall, sand cover cities, rivers change their course. It is the same silence that Nacht once heard in fragments, when the work paused and the tunnel went still. You sense that somehow his presence is still here, in the tool marks on the wall, in the shape of the doorway, in the faint whisper of chisel against stone. His life, and the lives of thousands like him, were folded into this place. Each strike of their tools was a prayer, each breath a promise that something greater than themselves would endure. You lower your lamp and watch the shadows move. The carved gods seem to flicker with light. For a moment, you almost think they breathe. The air seems to tremble. Somewhere far away, you hear a faint, rhythmic sound, perhaps the shifting of sand, or perhaps something deeper, older. A heartbeat, maybe. The heartbeat of Egypt itself. There is a strange comfort in this darkness. It holds not fear, but peace. The tomb was never built to frighten the living. It was built to welcome the dead, to carry the soul across that unseen river, from the fading light of life to the eternal dawn of the next world. Every color, every symbol, every curve of the wall was chosen with care, a map for eternity. You step closer to the sarcophagus and trace one of the symbols with your fingers. It is the Ankh, the sign of life. Even here, in a place of death, the message is clear. Life continues. The ancient Egyptians never saw death as an ending, but as a doorway. A continuation of the same journey through different light. As your lamp burns low, you sit for a while in the stillness, letting your mind quiet. The air feels almost weightless, as though time itself has paused. In that hush, you realize something simple but profound, that these tombs, these hidden chambers beneath the earth, were never truly meant for kings alone. They are mirrors of the human heart, reflections of our shared desire to be remembered, to belong to something that endures. Outside, far above, The desert wind moves softly over the dunes. The stars shimmer. The moonlight drifts over the cliffs, painting them in silver. Somewhere beneath that light, Nacht's name still sleeps in the dark, a whisper in the stone, untouched by time. And if you listen closely, very closely, you can almost hear him still. The quiet rhythm of a chisel, the patient breath of a man at work, the song of stone meeting purpose. Soon we will leave these chambers and rise again to the surface, where history meets memory and the sands carry their own stories. But before we go, linger here a little longer. Let the stillness hold you. Let the echoes fade. Let the centuries breathe through you, slow, deep, and calm. For in the end, all that remains, the tombs, the names, the carvings, even the wind, is one simple truth. Nothing truly disappears. It only rests. Slowly now, imagine yourself rising once more from the depths of the mountain. The tunnel behind you fades into shadow, cool and silent, as you step toward the soft light of dawn. The first breaths of morning air drift down through the narrow passageways, carrying the faint scent of stone, sand, and the distant sweetness of desert blooms. Your eyes adjust to the brightness, and once again you stand at the edge of the valley. The cliffs are still and golden in the morning sun. A pale wind moves through the wadi, lifting tiny ripples of dust that shimmer in the light. All around you lies the same landscape Nacht once knew, unchanged in its essence, timeless in its calm. The same ridges, the same stones, the same endless expanse of sand stretching to the horizon. Yet beneath it all, the earth holds layer upon layer of memory. The tunnels, the chambers, the marks of hands long gone. You walk slowly along a faint path leading back toward the village. The air hums with warmth, but the desert feels gentle, peaceful, almost affectionate. In the far distance, you see the faint outline of mud brick homes clustered together like sleeping animals. Smoke curls lazily from a few rooftops. Somewhere, a donkey brays. It is a new day, and life continues, as it always has. You pause to rest on a smooth rock and look around. The valley is quiet now, but if you listen closely, you might still hear faint echoes. The muted rhythm of chisels, the soft call of a foreman, the distant laughter of men returning home. They are gone, of course, yet somehow still here. Their work endures in every carved wall, in every secret chamber. The sands may shift and cover, but they never truly erase. In the centuries that followed, others came, explorers, scholars, wanderers with torches and tools. They brushed away dust that had slept for thousands of years. They lifted stones and read inscriptions. They gave names to the nameless. Yet even as they uncovered the tombs, the workers who built them remained largely invisible, silent presences behind the grandeur of kings. But perhaps that is how it was meant to be. Their task was not to be seen, but to ensure that eternity was built piece by piece from their steady devotion. You rise and continue walking. The sun climbs higher, and the desert light grows stronger, shimmering across the valley floor. In that bright stillness, time feels thin, almost transparent. You can almost see the past layered beneath the present. The dust of sandals, the marks of tools, the prints of baskets laid down centuries ago. Everything changes, and yet nothing truly does. The rhythm of life continues, slow and eternal. Imagine Nacht once more, standing where you stand now. The day's work ahead of him, the desert stretched before his eyes. He may have looked toward the cliffs and wondered if his efforts would ever be remembered. He may have thought of his family, of the simple meal waiting at home, of the endless days that seemed to repeat without end. and yet, unknowingly, he carved his way into immortality. Not through fame or glory, but through presence, through the quiet act of doing one thing with care every single day. That, perhaps, is what the sands remember best. The ordinary moments, the rhythm of footsteps, the sound of breath, the steady pulse of effort given without expectation. For the pharaohs built tombs to be remembered, but it was the workers who gave them shape, and through that labor their spirits linger still. You reach the edge of the valley now, where the desert meets the Nile plain. The breeze shifts, carrying the faint smell of water, reeds, and distant life. Palm trees sway along the riverbank, their shadows long and soft. In the villages, people stir, preparing bread, drawing water, calling to one another in the early light. The same scenes, the same sounds, separated by thousands of years. The pulse of existence continues unchanged. Take a slow breath. Feel the warmth of the air on your skin, the gentle hum of the earth beneath your feet. The world is vast, yet deeply connected. Every stone, every grain of sand, every breath taken in the past lives quietly within the present. Time does not truly pass. It circles endlessly, patiently, like the path of the sun across the sky. Now, as you rest here in the calm of this ancient morning, let your thoughts soften. The story of Nakht, of the tunnels, of the kings and their silent builders, it is no longer distant. It moves within you, slow and steady, like your heartbeat. The same rhythm that echoed in the mountains so long ago now hums quietly in your chest. The same stillness that filled those chambers now settles softly around you. The desert wind sighs through the valley once more. It brushes against the cliffs, against the entrance of the tombs, and carries with it the eternal murmur of remembrance. You can almost hear it saying, in its quiet, endless way, all things return to stillness. All things rest. The sun sinks low again, and the desert glows with gold. The valley fades into dusk. The air cools and shadows lengthen. The cliffs are calm now, their surfaces breathing in the last light of day. Somewhere in that vastness, beneath layers of sand and stone, Nakht's tunnels still wind through the rock, untouched, unchanged, eternal. You close your eyes. The air is warm and quiet. The faint hum of the wind mingles with the distant call of unseen birds, and as the last light fades, you feel the same peace that those ancient workers must have felt at day's end, the calm of completion, the comfort of knowing that what was built endures beyond time. So now, rest. The story has ended, but its echo continues, soft, slow, and endless. In the valley of kings and workers, the night deepens, the world sleeps, and so do you. Now, as the echoes of the story fade, let the stillness settle around you. The world of ancient Egypt drifts slowly away, the tunnels, the chisels, the quiet hum of work beneath the earth. The desert returns to silence, timeless and unbroken. The sands lie soft and cool beneath the stars, and above them the night sky spreads wide and eternal, just as it did thousands of years ago. Imagine the valley now, bathed in silver light. The cliffs stand watch, calm and unmoving, their shadows deep and soft. Somewhere far below in the sleeping rock, Nakht's tunnels remain, carved by steady hands, shaped by patience, built by breath and rhythm. The air down there is cool and still, untouched by time. It feels almost alive, holding the memory of every sound that ever echoed through it, every strike of a hammer, every whisper, every sigh. And above, the stars continue their slow drift across the sky. The same constellations the diggers once saw at dusk now watch over you, their light crosses the distance of centuries to touch your face, softly, gently. Take a deep breath and let it go. In through the nose and out through the mouth. Again, slowly now. Each breath a quiet echo of the desert wind. Each exhale a soft release of the day. The rhythm of your breath becomes the rhythm of the chisels. Slow, steady, eternal. The same rhythm that once carved stone now carves silence around you. It hums softly through your body, a song of calm and continuity. Let your body grow heavy, sinking deeper into comfort. Feel the surface beneath you, solid, still, unchanging, like the stone walls of the ancient tombs. You are safe here, surrounded by quiet. The weight of the world melts away, the mind loosens. Thoughts drift like grains of sand, settling one by one. Somewhere in the distance, you might still hear the faint whisper of wind across the cliffs, carrying stories too old to name. They are not calling for you to listen, only to rest, to join the endless rhythm of the earth, the slow turning of time, the peace of all things finding stillness. The stars above you shine faintly through the veil of sleep. Their light softens. The desert fades, the night deepens. And in that vast, gentle silence you rest, as the diggers once did at the end of their long day, as the desert does beneath the moon, as the world itself does when all things finally come to peace. So now, let go. Let the story drift away. Let the body rest. And let the sands of time carry you gently into dreams.